Hi everyone, Robin May here, and today what I'm going to talk about is brushes. Now I'm going to be talking about a specific brand of brushes, the Shani or Shani brushes that I got about a month ago, but what I'm going to do is instead of talking about just these specific brushes, I'm going to be talking about the type of brushes, what you can use that brush for and why. The reason why I'm doing this is because sometimes when you watch a YouTube tutorial on makeup, they'll say, oh, I'm using a Sigma E whatever brush. Like, okay, well, I'm not going to spend $20 on a brush, so why are you using this brush? What is it about the shape or the texture or the bristles that's making it good for what you're using it for? So what I would do, instead of saying, oh, I'm using this MAC 270 brush, I'm going to say, oh, I'm using this domed shape brush because of this reason. So that way someone else who isn't going to be spending all of this money on these high-end brushes can still find the right tool for them as opposed to the right brand. The brushes that I use are Shani or Shani. It's S-H-A-N-Y. And I read some reviews online. I found that these were really good quality brushes that weren't going to break the bank. And that's why I chose these. I ordered them off of Amazon and it cost me about, well, I want to say either $30 or $40 for the brushes. And when I got the brushes, they come in this full leather case. And this case is huge. It's mostly empty because I took, it's upside down also. Okay, so I took out most of the brushes that I use on a daily basis, so it's easy for me to grab. But it comes in this huge case, which is nice for traveling or moving. Or like I took these to my sister's house when we played with makeup, so I just put them all back in here. That way they were safe. You have that plastic protector on the back. It does come with little zippers and little pockets on the side, and then like I said, it does close. It's a little early for this intrusion, but are we surprised? No. No, we're not. So the case, it kind of smells a little plasticky, but who really cares? You put it away, you pull out your brushes that you're using, and you have them in your easily accessible little containers. So that's what I did. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each brush. I'm going to say what the brand says they're for. They have a huge chart of all the brushes, kind of going over what each brush is meant to do. So I am going to kind of go over that, but then I'm also going to say what I use it for, because half the time I feel like what they say they use it for is not what I use it for, because I either don't use that kind of product or it just works better for me in a different way. So I'm going to start with face brushes, and the first brush that I'm going to talk about is the fan brush. Now this is literally called extra large fan brush for face and body. So it's very big, it's very soft, there's not a lot of resistance, it's not super firm. It came in a protector, but it was still, the bristles were kind of pulled back, so I feel like it's kind of warped in shape. I kind of got it that way. Like it's not super slender or anything like that. But so what this says is it's designed for contouring and enhancing the body and face. It's natural sable hair brush. You can use it as a highlighter, draw attention to your cheekbones or neckline, or as a bronzer. So what do I use it for? I do actually use it for highlighting. Most of the time, if I'm using this brush, I'm just doing a sweep of a highlight. I don't use it for contouring, but I do use it when I'm just like sweeping on highlighter up and down my nose. I also use it to wipe away excess powder if I apply too much, or if there's like fallout, I'll use it to wipe away the fallout. So that's the first brush. Okay, the second brush I'm going to be talking about is called the Liquid Foundation Buffer Brush. So this is a flat brush. It's round, but I'll read to you what it says. This is made with a blend of sable hair and microfibers. The sable hair bristles hold color, while the soft microfibers erase any strokes that a brush may leave behind, providing with a beautiful, flawless finish. Use this brush only with liquid or cream foundation. I have not used this specific brush. The brush that I have used instead is the oval brush, which I just used today to apply my makeup, hence the color difference. It's essentially the same thing. It's just a little bit smaller. I don't use this that frequently because I just use a beauty blender to put on my makeup. If for some reason I am traveling, like I put my makeup on in the car the other day, I use this instead of my beauty blender because I can't bring water in the car with me. So I just use this to put on my makeup. She needs apparently a lot of love right now. She needs some love. Because the brush is the way that it fits, like it's a little bit tapered, but you have different length of bristles in the end, and when you stipple it on, that gives you a really natural looking finish. Again, I probably should switch to this one because it gives you more coverage than this one, but this is, I guess, the one that I grabbed, so that's the one I've been using. I don't know really what else you would use these two for because of the flat end. You wouldn't want to necessarily use it for powder. You wouldn't necessarily want to use it for blush either. So I would say these are strictly foundation brushes. I forgot to mention that some of these brushes, the larger brushes, do come with these little cases. So when you're traveling or when you just are sitting them and they have these little plastic cases, it helps keep their shape pretty much is all that I can think that would be for, and just to protect it. So the next brush that I'm going to be talking about is the medium powder brush. This is a slightly tapered, but not a lot, powder brush. It has a full round front there. It's very soft. It's not over dense, but it is, kind of firm because you're going to be brushing and buffing on your face with this. So all this says, designed for the price application of loose or pressed powder. Create full or sheer cover with this powder brush that doubles as the perfect brush for final touch-ups. I do only use this for maybe some blush. It's a little big for me. I'm not a big blush girl, so this is big for blush for me, but I do use it just for powder if I'm using powder, just all over my face. Okay, next is the mineral powder brush. So this, in my opinion, looks very much just like the regular powder brush, except smaller. I don't understand why it has to be mineral. Optimus, I need this. So this says, made with ultra-fine microfibers that resist mineral powder buildup, this brush is perfect for anything mineral powder. Use this brush to get sheer full coverage with mineral powder or liquid foundation for a flawless radiant finish. Apply in a circular motion for best results. So most of these brushes so far have that microfiber or synthetic brush or hair, so I don't really understand why this is any different than any of the other brushes besides the shape and density of the brush itself. I do have a mineral highlighter or mineral bronzer kind of, so I do use it for that. Does it make a difference whether I use this one or my powder brush? Not that I notice. So I think you can use this for pretty much any kind of powder. It's nice because it's a little bit smaller, so this one I would probably use for blush more likely than the larger or medium brush. The next one is one that I use quite frequently. This is the slanted contour brush. So this is designed for creating the perfect contour. The soft slanted brush is perfect for use with foundation, bronzer, or blush. Use this brush to even out your complexion or remove excess color. Apply in a circular motion for best results. So this is just your basic blush brush or contour brush or powder brush. Honestly, you could use this too. They're both going to be doing the same thing. This is just slanted, so when you put it on your face, you get a little bit of a closer touch than if you were to just put this on your face. More of the brush is touching when you're using this. I like it because it's red and it's pretty. I do use this to add my powder contour over my cream contour. I do use it for blush if I'm using a blush, but that's it. Sometimes you can use it to get underneath your eye if you're setting powder, but there are other brushes that I think work a little bit better than this. This would be the only face brush that I would probably use for that because it's slanted. It's easier to get in those crevices. Moving on to the buffed bronzer brush. Now this one I have never used. It came in a protector, and I don't know if you can see, but some of the hairs, again, they just kind of like popped out, so it's already kind of deformed. This is what I guess I would kind of equate to what people call a kabuki brush, except smaller. So this is designed for perfect application of cream and or powder bronzer. The flat tip of the brush allows for incredible control as the color is buffed into your skin. I don't use bronzer, so that's why I don't use this. If I'm applying foundation, I'll do the foundation brush, that oval foundation brush. So I have yet to use this. I feel like you can use this though, again, for essentially any kind of powder. The next one is, again, one that I had not used. This is the rounded foundation brush. So this is a very tapered brush, circular, just a standard brush. And this is designed for the precise application of cream under liquid foundation. Rounded tip is perfect for creating flawless brush strokes. I don't use this because I use my beauty blender. I just use my beauty blender, I put it on the foundation on the back of my hand and put it on that way. If you don't use a beauty blender and you wanted to apply your foundation with this, I'm sure you could, but you could also just apply it with these brushes too, the actual buffing foundation brushes. Every time that I hear someone talk about using a brush like this to put on their foundation, a non-flat brush that you can't really stipple with, you always hear people say that this gives you like painter strokes, like if you're painting a wall. So I have never used this brush. I don't foresee myself that I would. I have other brushes that do the same job better, or I just have absolutely no use for this. So I don't really use this brush. I don't think anyone really needs this brush unless you aren't using a makeup sponge. The next brush is, again, a brush I have not used. This is a slanted finishing brush. It's very pretty. I love the end. It's very soft, incredibly soft. I think this might be the softest brush that they have. This is designed for adding touch-ups to your makeup look for flawless results. Use the slanted brush to even out your complexion or remove excess color. I don't know. There's no point. Next is the Mineral Bronzer Brush. And this one I occasionally use. So it's a Mineral Bronzer Buffer Brush. So buffer just means like blending. So this is ultrafine microfibers that resist mineral powder buildup. So this is much like the powder brush. So you apply and you blend. And because of the flat end, it makes it easier to blend. Because you can stipple, you also get more coverage when you are doing a circular motion on your face. So that's pretty much what I see this is. I have it out. I don't really use it. But again, if you use mineral products, you might see a difference between using a mineral resistant brush versus a regular brush. But to me, I don't really notice a difference. The next one that I'm going to do is, again, very similar. This is a mineral blush brush. So it's that same ultra soft microfiber brushes, but it's slanted like your regular blush brush. Very small compared to the size of the regular blush brush. You get a lot less coverage. I use this occasionally if I'm using a blush just to do small application because I'm not a big blush person. I don't like having a lot of blush, so this is small. Again, I don't really think that you would need to have this specific brush. There's a lot of other brushes that would do the same thing. So the last face brush is the concealer brush. So this is just a basic concealer brush. It's small, it's thin, it's flat, and it's rounded. And that's pretty much all it says here too. It's designed for the precise application of cream or liquid concealers or color correctors. I use this for color correctors primarily. Most of my concealers come with an applicator, so I don't really need to use it for that, but I do use it for my color correctors. I also use it for lining my lips, like after I put on my lipstick, if I've gone crazy, or with my eyes too. I'll take my foundation and I'll line my lips like that. Or again, I'll clean up on the edges of my eyes if I get a little crazy, which tends to happen sometimes. On to the fun brushes. So, eye brushes. This comes with 10 eye brushes. Out of those 10 eye brushes, I use 9. So I think that the eye brushes that they give you are very good. I'm just going to go through these probably in the order in which most people are going to be using them, or like the likelihood that someone's going to be using them. The first is eyeshadow brushes. Now this comes with 2 eyeshadow brushes. They are very similar, but in like size, but they're very different. So the first eyeshadow brush is very thin, very rounded. It almost looks like the concealer brush. So here's the concealer brush and here's the eyeshadow brush. Like, it's very similar. It's a little bit thicker, but it's very similar. The other eyeshadow brush is close, but a little different. It's thicker and it's fluffier. I tend to gravitate towards the thinner brush This, I think, is really good for just packing on eyeshadow color because you can just dip it in, put it on. I'd use the fluffier brush if I'm like highlighting the skin right below my brow bone, or if I'm using it to like as a transition shade if I'm blending up. I think because of how much more fluffy it is, it's better for blending in some eyeshadow colors, but it's not meant to be a blending brush because it is very thick. All it says for these is it actually doesn't even differentiate between them. Designed for the precise application of matte and or shimmery eyeshadows on the lid. Duh. If they didn't do that, then what are they good for? The next brush that I would use the most would be the Crease Brush. So they call this a contouring eyeshadow brush. It's the Crease Brush. It is a domed, tapered brush. So it's perfectly circular. It's very dome-shaped and tapered off to a nice point. It's fairly firm, and the reason why is because you're using this in your crease. And that's also why it's tapered. So it's good for your crease because you can get in between the overskin and the underskin and get in just the crease area. You can use this brush for underneath the eye, but I feel like it's a little bit too big. It doesn't quite give you that full control than a smaller brush does, and they do have a smaller brush that I use for that. So I really just use this for my crease, nothing else. The next brush that I use every time I do my eye makeup is the blending brush. So this is very much like the Crease Brush, except it is far fluffier. So it's still domed, it's still tapered, it's just incredibly fluffy and not nearly as dense. Because when you're blending, you need a little bit more give. I didn't have a blending brush for the longest time. I had a crease brush and I had an eyeshadow brush. This is incredible. It does so well at evening out everything and getting rid of those lines. You can use it just to blend. I use this, again, I can put it in a transition shade if I'm, to lighten up between my like darker shadow, like my crease shadow, and going up. It's perfect for that too. So this is a fantastic brush. The next brush that I use is a pencil brush. Well, I guess what I call a pencil brush. They call this an eyeliner brush. I don't use this for eyeliner. I feel like it's way too thick to get a good eyeliner. And it's not like it's super thick or anything, but it is thick. And I use this for smoking out underneath my eye. If I'm bringing color down, you can use it to smoke out the eyeliner that you have down there to soften it and make it look a little bit less harsh. You can also use this for really precise application of powder in the crease of your eye, which is what I did today. It's small enough that you can get that precise placement, and it's firm enough to get that precise placement, but then you can also, if you do small enough circles, you can buff it out and get use it as a blending brush too for that. So I do like this brush, but again, I do not use it for eyeliner. I don't, no. What I do use for eyeliner is a slanted eyeliner brush. So this is for gel eyeliner. I have not used it for liquid. I do use it for gel or cream eyeliner. I personally love it. This is the first time with this brush that I ever used cream eyeliner, and I love how easy it applies. I'm not pulling on my eye to get a clean line. I can just, hold my eye still and drag it across and get a perfect line every time. So this I do like a lot. You could use this for crease application as well because it's so precise. You could use this for your brow. You would just want to, of course, clean it between different applications. The next brush that I use is a brow brush. Now this has a red tip because I also used it for lipstick. So this is a multifunctional tool for me. It's small and firm, so I cleaned it obviously after I used it on my eyebrows and then cleaned it and put some lipstick on. But you could do both. The next brush that I use a lot is this brush slash spoolie. That's their words, not mine. This is not a spoolie to me. This is a spoolie. This is a brush and a comb. I don't understand why they call it a spoolie. Don't call it a spoolie. But I do use this if I'm doing my brows. Now you brush your brows up. You can comb them out. You can use this for your eyelashes. Pretty standard. Do you need to buy a fancy brush for this? No, you can buy these, I'm sure, for $1 at Walmart. So just a couple more brushes here. And these, I don't think I use for the intended purpose. The first one that I use is the Eyeshadow Buffer Brush. So this is said to create flawless eyeshadow effects. It's perfect for blending and buffing color along the crease of the eye. Sure, I guess that's what I use it for. I like that this one, as well as the cream eyeshadow brush, I feel like they're very similar. They're a little bit different in size, but essentially they're the same. They're really the same. This one's just a little bit bigger. This is technically a cream eyeshadow brush. Again, this is the eyeshadow buffer brush. I use them for my crease if I want to pack on color in my crease. I don't use them that often. I would, again, rather use that pencil brush or just the regular dome brush. But they came with the kit. They're not bad. I don't really use them that often, but they're nice to have, especially if you're using a lot of different eyeshadow colors. Sometimes it's a pain to clean out your brushes after every use or not clean them out and have colors run together. So these work for just applying color on your lid as well. So the last brush I'm going to talk about is a slanted eyeshadow brush. And this does not have a, oh it does. Designed for blending eyeshadow and color and finishing touch-ups. The slanted multi-purpose eyeshadow brush is perfect for adding definition to the eye crease or highlighting the inner corners of the eyes. Why would you use this for the crease? I don't understand, because if you're putting this in a crease, you're getting all of the skin underneath it as well. And for the corner of your eyes, just use your finger or your pencil brush or your dome brush. I mean, this, I feel like this, again, it's going to get, you're not going to have precise application of color with this because it's so big. Is it a nice brush? Sure. It's very soft. I'm sure you could use it to apply just your basic color, like your basic eyeshadow. But do I use it for my crease application? No, I don't actually use it at all. So those are the brushes that I use. I'm just going to briefly kind of go over the ones that I use on a day-to-day basis, the ones that I think everyone should think about getting. The first brush is going to be what I use for my contour brush or a slanted blush brush. Any kind of tapered, whether it's slanted or circular blush brush, I think is good for everyone to have. The second brush I think everyone should have is, if you use powder, a powder brush. I don't use powder because I have dry skin. So the only powder that I use is for my contour. So if you use powder, obviously you want a good powder brush. If you don't use a makeup sponge, then you'd want to use one of these buffer brushes for foundation. The other face brush that I do think most people will want to have is that concealer brush. I do think that this is a great tool. Heck, if you don't have an eyeshadow brush, you could use this for an eyeshadow brush too, but I do think that this is a good brush for everyone to have if you're doing any other kind of highlighting or color correction. For eyeshadow brushes, even though I talked about a lot, I think there's really only 3 brushes that you need. The first is just your standard eyeshadow brush to pack on your color. The second is your dome brush for your crease. The third is your really fluffy, domed, tapered brush for blending. For your basic eyes, these 3 are all that you need. So I hope that was informative. I know this video is going to be a little bit long because I talked a lot about the brushes specifically, but I think that it's really important to know why brushes are used for what they say they're used for. Because, like I said, if someone says that they're using a certain type of brush, a certain brand and a certain style of brush, that means nothing to me as a consumer unless I have that brush. And if I'm not spending $20 or $30 on a brush, how do I know what brush is comparable to that I can buy? So I try to go through and explain why they're used for what I use them for. So I hope that helps. I think that that's good to know for anyone, whether you're a beginner or otherwise. I feel like sometimes people just use these brushes because it's a name brand or because someone else is using them on YouTube. And if you can get the same type of brush, and as long as it's not like scratching your face as you're applying it, what does it really matter? So thanks for watching this video. I know this wasn't as fun as the others. I know it's a bit more informational and a bit longer, but I think that it's helpful to know what each brush is used for. That way you can go out and find a brush that you like in your price range that'll do what you need it to do. So I appreciate you watching. I hope you like it. Stay tuned. I should be getting my BeautyCon box curated by Graveyard Girl next week sometime, and I will definitely do an unboxing for that. In the meantime, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye!